when you think about cyber defense, what is the first image that actually pops into your head?
Oh, probably a firewall or something.
Right, yeah. You probably pictured this massive, impenetrable wall. Like you imagine this sprawling digital fortress, complete with a moat and floodlights and, an army of virtual guards on the perimeter.
Just desperately trying to keep the bad guys out.
Exactly. We are completely obsessed with the perimeter as a society. But what if the real secret to security has nothing to do with building a higher wall?
Yeah, what if it's about what happens once a hacker's already inside?
Right. So welcome to today's Deep Dives. Today we are flipping the script on cyber defense by looking at a concept drawn from a really great article by WA Cybersecurity.
It's a fantastic piece.
Yeah, it really is. And the concept is called the principle of least privilege. And it basically, it fundamentally changes how we need to think about protecting our digital lives.
It is a massive paradigm shift. I mean, it's one we desperately need because for decades, organizations have spent millions of dollars fortifying the front door.
And leaving the back door open.
Worse, leaving every single interior door wide open.
Wow. Okay, let's unpack this for you listening. The principle of least privilege, or PoLP for short. The core definition is actually, it's beautifully simple.
Right, it really is.
It is the practice of giving users, systems, applications, devices, only the absolute minimum access and permissions they require to do their jobs.
Yeah.
And absolutely nothing more.
That nothing more part, that is the hinge upon which modern security swings.
Yeah.
Yeah. But to really grasp why restricting internal access is so vital, we have to, look at how a breach actually unfolds in the real world.
So getting away from the movies.
Exactly. We need to completely scrap the Hollywood myth of the hacker.
You mean the guy in the dark room, furious typing, green code raining down the screen as he cracks a mainframe in 30 seconds?
Right, exactly. I mean, it's entertaining, sure, but attackers are pragmatic. They're businesses. They take the path of least resistance.
Well, yeah. Why work harder than you have to?
Yeah. Exactly. Why would someone spend months coding a sophisticated zero-day exploit to bypass a billion-dollar firewall when they can just walk through the front door?
So they just log in.
Modern attacks overwhelmingly begin with credential theft.
Okay, so we're talking about like phishing emails, password spraying, that sort of thing.
Yes. Or simply buying a list of stolen usernames and passwords on the dark web. They trick an employee into handing over their login and they use it.
Wow. And the system just lets them in.
Right, because once they authenticate with a valid username and password, the security system doesn't see a hacker. It sees a legitimate employee logging in to do their job.
Man. So it's like someone stealing the ID badge of the summer intern instead of trying to, blow the vault doors off with dynamite.
That's a perfect analogy.
But wait, I have to stop you there. Because if the hacker only has the intern's badge, how are they stealing the company's crown jewels?
Ah, right.
Because, the intern's badge doesn't open the main vault. The intern probably just has access to, like, the break room and some basic training manuals.
That is the million-dollar question. And the answer lies in a blind spot that most organizations have. It involves two mechanisms.
Okay.
Lateral movement and privilege escalation. Let's stick with your intern analogy. The hacker swipes the intern's badge, walks into the lobby, and the system lets them in.
Right. They're in the building.
Now, if the company isn't practicing the principle of least privilege, their internal environment is basically a free-for-all.
Oh, boy.
Yeah. The hacker starts walking down the digital hallways, jiggling every single doorknob.
Just wandering the building to see what's unlocked?
Wandering, mapping the network, looking for file shares, backup servers, employee directories. They use that basic low-level access to scan for unpatched vulnerabilities.
Or misconfigured permissions?
Exactly. Maybe an IT administrator was working late and accidentally left a backup copy of a master password file on a shared drive that everyone can read.
Oh, no. So the intern, or the hacker as the intern, finds it.
The hacker finds it. They use that file to upgrade their own access. Suddenly, the intern's badge transforms into an executive's badge.
Wow.
And then into a domain administrator's badge. That is privilege escalation.
Wow, so they leverage the tiny foothold to climb the ladder. That means the principle of least privilege doesn't actually stop someone from stealing the intern's badge in the first place, right?
You're correct. The initial break-in still happens.
Okay, because you cannot stop every phishing email.
No, you really can't. Humans make mistakes. What this principle does is strictly limit the blast radius.
The blast radius.
Right. If it is properly implemented, the intern's badge only opens the front door and the supply closet.
So when the hacker jiggles the door to the finance department,
It's bolted shut. When they try to ping the central servers, they get nothing. They're trapped in the lobby.
limiting the blast radius. I love that visual because when you don't limit that blast radius, the consequences are, well, they're catastrophic.
Oh, absolutely.
Let's look at the domino effect here. Let's
Yeah.
walk through a specific scenario from the source material that really paints a terrifying picture of what happens when excessive permissions are left unchecked.
Yeah, and it usually starts somewhere totally mundane. Let's say a mid-level help desk employee gets an urgent, very convincing email from what looks like their HR
Oh,
department.
classic phishing.
Right. They click a link, get taken to a fake Microsoft login page, and unknowingly type in their credentials.
So the attacker has the login. They are in the network.
They're in. Now, in a poorly configured network, this simple help desk account has accumulated excessive permissions. We call it permission creep.
Permission creep, like just slowly gaining access over time.
Exactly. Maybe 2 years ago, this employee needed temporary administrator rights to troubleshoot a strange issue on the finance server.
Okay.
The issue got fixed, but the IT department they forgot to revoke those administrator rights.
Oh, no. So those God mode permissions have just been sitting there attached to this account, completely forgotten about.
For years. And because of that administrative oversight, the attacker who compromised the account instantly inherits those exact same excessive permissions.
Wow. Here's where it gets really interesting for you listening, and honestly, a little scary. The hacker didn't use an advanced cyber weapon to break into the finance server.
Not at all.
The company's own security system essentially handed the hacker the keys to the kingdom. We see all these massive headline-making data breaches on the news, and you just assume it was some genius nation-state hack.
Right, some super advanced software.
Yeah. But so often, it's just a compromised account with bloated privileges. It is a completely self-inflicted wound.
It really is. And that self-inflicted wound fundamentally changes the dynamic of ransomware.
How so?
Well, people tend to think of ransomware as this unstoppable, sentient virus that burns down everything it touches. But ransomware is just a piece of software executing commands.
Okay.
Mechanically, it can only encrypt the files and systems that the logged-in user is allowed to access.
Wait, really?
Yes.
So if our help desk employee only has access to their own inbox and like a folder of PDF manuals, the ransomware can only lock up those specific files.
That's it. It hits a brick wall. The system says, you don't have permission to write over these other files, and the ransomware fails.
That's amazing. But in our scenario, because that help desk account had those lingering administrator rights.
The ransomware inherits the admin rights.
Oh, man. It inherits everything.
Everything. Now, the ransomware asks the system, can I overwrite the HR database? And the system says, yes, you're an admin.
Wow.
It asks, can I deploy myself to every laptop in the company? Yes. It moves laterally across the entire organization. And worst of all, with admin rights, it can go in and encrypt the company's network backups.
Which means you can't even restore the system to yesterday's version. You are completely paralyzed.
Completely.
And I imagine with those kinds of rights, the attackers can create hidden backdoor accounts. So even if you catch the compromised help desk account and delete it, they can just walk back in tomorrow.
Right. They establish permanent persistence. So you see, stripping away unnecessary permissions isn't just a best practice for keeping confidential documents private.
Way bigger than that.
It is your ultimate foundational containment strategy for malware. It is what stops the dominoes from falling.
Okay, so the theory makes perfect sense when we're talking about ransomware and hackers. But applying this rigid rule to everyday workers seems like it would cause, well, chaos.
It can, if not done right.
Let's pull this out of the abstract IT realm and look at some guardrails in the real world. Because if the stakes are a total company shutdown, how does this actually function on a daily basis?
You have to tailor the guardrails to the specific environment. Take banking, for example.
Okay.
A teller at your local branch obviously needs access to the system to process daily deposits, look up account balances, and cash checks.
Right, basic stuff.
But they shouldn't have the systemic ability to approve a $10 million international wire transfer on their own. And they certainly shouldn't have database-level access to modify the back-end ledger of the entire financial institution.
Because if that teller's terminal is compromised by a piece of malware, you don't want that malware draining the bank's entire reserve.
Precisely. Or look at a hospital. Nurses absolutely need access to electronic health records to do their jobs,
Yeah.
but they only need access to the records of the patients in their specific ward during their active shift.
Oh, that makes sense.
Right. The system should block them from viewing the records of someone in the psychiatric wing, and they definitely shouldn't be able to access the hospital's central billing infrastructure or the physical security systems.
And it's not just human employees either. This is the part of the article that really made it click for me.
The machine accounts.
Yeah. The principle of least privilege applies to machine accounts, service accounts, and even mobile apps. So, thinking about you, the listener, when you download a flashlight app on your smartphone, that app should not have access to your photo gallery,
Absolutely not.
or your contacts, or your microphone. Its only job is to turn the LED light on and off.
That is a brilliant way to conceptualize it. If that flashlight app gets compromised, or if the developer turns out to be sketchy, they can't eavesdrop on your conversations.
Because the operating system is enforcing least privilege.
Exactly. The app asks the phone for the microphone, and the phone denies the request.
It's a fail-safe. And it seems like this would protect you from more than just external hackers, too.
Oh, it absolutely protects against insider threats. If a disgruntled employee decides they want to steal intellectual property and take it to a competitor, they can only download the specific files they currently have access to.
Right, they can't just grab the whole database.
Furthermore, it massively reduces catastrophic human error.
The classic Monday morning clumsiness.
We've all been there. I mean, if you physically don't have the permission level required to accidentally delete the main customer database, then you can't accidentally delete it no matter what wrong button you push.
That's a huge relief for IT, I'm sure.
And finally, from a legal perspective, strict permission control is often required to ensure compliance with regulations, like IPR for healthcare or GDPR for data privacy. You have to prove to auditors exactly who has access to sensitive data and why.
All right, the logic is undeniable. Contain the blast radius, stop permission creep, lock down the flashlight app. But I keep coming back to the scale of this.
The implementation.
Yeah. If you have a massive corporation with 10,000 employees coming and going, getting promoted, changing departments,
It's a lot.
how on earth does an IT team keep track of who gets to see what without freezing the whole company?
It is an incredibly complex operational challenge. Implementation is where most companies fail.
So where do you even start?
The first step is taking a massive inventory. You have to map out every single user account, administrator account, third-party vendor access, and automated API key.
Wow.
You have to know who holds the keys to every single door.
Which sounds like a total nightmare.
Yeah.
Once you map that out, how do you actually manage it?
You apply role-based access control, or RBAC. The fundamental mistake companies make is assigning permissions to individuals.
Like assigning it to John.
Exactly. They give John access to the Q3 financial folder, but then John moves to marketing. Now he has marketing access and finance access.
The permission creep we talked about earlier.
Exactly. With RBAC, you don't assign permissions to John. You create a distinct role called Senior Finance Analyst. You define the absolute bare minimum permissions that role requires to function.
Okay.
Then you place John into that role. When John moves to marketing, you just remove him from the finance role and put him in the marketing role.
And all his finance permissions are instantly revoked.
Instantly.
That makes a lot of sense. It standardizes everything. But the strategy that really caught my eye in the source involves administrative accounts. It's called just-in-time access, or JIT.
Oh, yes. The gold standard.
So instead of giving a system engineer permanent administrator rights 24/7, you give them standard low-level rights. And when they actually need to do an administrative task, they request elevated access.
Right.
It's granted for a short window, maybe 2 hours, and then it basically self-destructs.
That is the gold standard. But, as you can imagine, it is also the source of the most friction.
Yeah, I have to push back on this on behalf of every IT professional listening, because waiting for just-in-time access sounds completely unworkable in a crisis.
I hear that a lot.
Imagine it's 2 a.m. on a Sunday. The main e-commerce server crashes.
Okay.
The company is losing $10,000 a minute. The IT engineer logs in to fix it, but they only have standard rights. They have to submit a digital request form and wait for a manager to wake up and approve their admin rights.
Yeah.
The company would lose millions while they wait.
It's a completely valid concern, and honestly, it is the exact scenario that makes IT directors abandon the principle entirely.
I don't blame them.
But we have to look at the mechanics of how modern just-in-time access actually works. You don't rely on a sleeping manager.
Uh-huh.
Organizations use automated privileged access management tools.
Oh, so the algorithm handles the approval.
Yes, the tool knows that this specific engineer is scheduled to be on call this weekend. When the engineer requests emergency access at 2 a.m., the system verifies their identity, checks the on-call schedule, and instantly provisions a one-time use password for that specific server.
Wow, instantly.
Instantly. The engineer fixes the server, and 2 hours later, the password automatically scrambles itself.
Okay, that changes things.
Mm.
So you eliminate the human bottleneck, but you still eliminate the prominent admin account.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Because the alternative, what companies do when they prioritize convenience over security is terrifying.
What's the worst mistake you see?
The mistakes are legendary. The number one failure is giving everyone local administrator rights on their laptops so they stop calling the help desk when they want to install a printer.
Oh, geez. Which turns a single phishing click into a company-wide infection.
Exactly. The other massive failures are leaving old contractor accounts active.
So just like unlock backdoor entrances that no one is monitoring.
Yep, and using shared administrative credentials.
You mean like an account literally just called admin, where 5 different IT guys all know the same password?
It happens all the time, and when you do that, you completely destroy any accountability.
Right.
If that admin account logs in at midnight and deletes a database, you have absolutely no idea which of the 5 guys did it, or if a hacker stole the password.
It's like eating your vegetables, you know? Setting up these automated tools and roles takes a lot of effort up front, but it prevents a massive heart attack down the line.
That's a great way to put it.
Which brings us to the ultimate evolution of this concept.
Yeah.
Because everything we've talked about so far mostly applies to traditional networks. But, I mean, everyone is moving to the cloud.
And cloud environments like AWS, Azure, Google Cloud, they fundamentally change the architecture of security.
How so?
In the old days, you had a physical office building with a firewall. In the cloud, there is no physical building. Identity is the new perimeter. Who you are and what you are allowed to do is the only barrier.
And cloud permissions are notoriously complex. You can be building an app, check the wrong box on a storage setting, and accidentally make a database of 1 million customer passwords public to the entire internet.
It happens constantly. That is why the golden rule in cloud architecture is to start with deny all.
Deny all. Just lock everything down.
You assume zero access is granted to anyone or anything by default. You explicitly build permissions up from there, piece by very small piece. And this granular control is what enables the overarching philosophy of modern cybersecurity. Zero trust.
Zero trust. That is the massive buzzword right now.
Oh, yeah.
It means assuming no user, device, or network is automatically safe, regardless of where they are. In the past, people explained network security like a bouncer at a nightclub, right?
Right.
They check your ID at the door, and once you're inside, you're trusted. You can go to the bar, the bathroom, wherever. But zero trust is totally different. To give you a visual, imagine a highly classified subterranean research facility.
I like where this is going.
You scan your badge at the front door, but you aren't trusted just because you're inside. Every single hallway has weight sensors, facial recognition cameras, and biometric scanners continuously tracking you. You are only authorized to walk from the lobby to Lab 4. If you deviate from that path and try to walk toward the cafeteria, the system instantly detects anomalous behavior, drops the blast doors, and locks you in the hallway.
That is a phenomenal analogy because it highlights the continuous nature of the verification.
Right.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, the principle of least privilege is the functional engine that powers zero trust.
Okay, so how do they fit together?
Zero trust is the philosophy. Never trust, always verify. Least privilege is the mechanism. We verified your identity, but you are still only allowed in Lab 4, nowhere else.
Wow.
It forces an organization to shift from a trust but verify mindset to an assume breach reality.
Assume breach.
Yeah.
Just accepting as a fundamental truth that the hackers are going to get inside.
You have to. You operate under the assumption that the intern's badge has already been cloned. You assume the help desk employee has already clicked the malicious link. If you operate from the reality that the enemy is currently inside the gates, you design your interior doors much, much differently. You enforce continuous verification, and you strictly limit what that compromised account can touch.
It is a completely different way of looking at the digital world. So what does this all mean for you, the listener? The principle of least privilege isn't just dry, technical IT jargon for network architects. It is a fundamental philosophy of risk management that applies to everyone.
Everyone.
It's about minimizing your exposure. If you run a small business, audit your permissions. Don't let your staff use administrator accounts for their daily web browsing.
Please don't.
Right. And if you are just trying to secure your personal life, check the permissions on your smartphone apps. Ask yourself why a simple game needs access to your contacts.
Mm.
Minimizing unnecessary access across the board is your absolute best defense against modern threats.
It really is the bedrock of digital safety. But I'll leave you with this final thought, something to ponder as these systems become incredibly advanced. We talked about how modern tools are automating things like just-in-time access. As organizations increasingly rely on zero-trust verification, we are handing over the keys to algorithms.
Right, the algorithms make the calls.
Exactly. Algorithms will make these split-second decisions about who gets access and when, strictly enforcing that least privilege based on rigid rules. But what happens when an unprecedented crisis hits?
Like what?
Say, a massive physical emergency, a natural disaster, or a kinetic attack on a facility. If the system's strict, unbending adherence to least privilege prevents human responders from breaking the rules to access critical data and improvise a solution to save the network,
Oh, wow.
what then? How do we balance absolute algorithmic security with the human need to break the rules in a crisis?
That is a chilling thought. We're building these highly intelligent, perfectly locked interior doors to protect ourselves, but we have to make sure we don't trap ourselves inside when the building catches fire.
Exactly.
It turns out, giving up on the massive impenetrable wall is just the first step. The real challenge is managing the maze we build inside. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. We'll catch you on the next one.